All right, so today's topic is solar. All right, so you're thinking about selling your property and you have solar panels on the roof. It is a pain in the you know what to deal with solar companies. Okay, so you really want to do your work in advance before you put that property on the market. If you're listing with us, we're going to give you some ideas. But honestly, there's a lot of things that even after 25 years of doing this, every month there's some weird thing with solar that I haven't seen before, to the point now where every seller is like, you call your solar company and you ask them everything. You're going to sell the property. What do I need to know? And then you want to ask specifically about fees and stuff they may not want to tell you until they have you kind of against the corner at closing. So here's some things for sellers that you really want to be aware of, the big pitfalls. But this is not everything because it changes, and there's a lot of shady solar companies out there. So I'm giving you the biggies, right? So first off, do you have a solar loan or lease? This you should know, but some people, you don't really pay close attention to the difference. If you have a solar lease, okay, we need to know very clearly if the solar panels are leased. What are the rules to take it over? Most solar leases can be transferred, but not all. So you have to ask and verify, can my solar lease be transferred to another buyer? Are there any restrictions on the type of buyer who can take over my solar lease? Okay, meaning, do they have to be owner-occupant buyer to take over lease? Can an investor take it over? Ask the question very specifically and get it in writing. And by the way, everything I'm telling you, when I say call and ask, what I really mean is check your contract first of all, and then call, and then have them send an email to you verifying it, right? So don't go off of any one of those three, because if you misread the contract because you're not a lawyer, and you go off that and you misunderstand it, it's going to be a real problem later. If you call and somebody who's incompetent talks to you and you rely off that, it's a problem. So what you really want to have is something in writing that corresponds to what's in the actual written contract. So you have two different ways of verifying what you're saying is true. And then those two things together, you'll hand to me or to your listing agent, and make sure they have it so they can disclose that to the buyer. Okay. So who can transfer the solar lease? Number one. Number two, are there any fees associated with this? Yes, the answer is yes, there are fees. What are the fees, right? Specifically, how much will it cost me to transfer it? So that can be negotiated as well in the purchase agreement, or at least you just be aware of it and have it on your net proceeds sheet. The third thing to be aware of with solar leases is the term of the contract. Now, you may have actually taken over a solar lease from a prior homeowner as well. So when does the actual solar lease end? Okay, very important. We want to disclose all of that. Your original contract should tell you that. And again, you can confirm these things, but when does it end? So also, are the payments going to stay the same? Sometimes solar payments on leases will change. Also, what kind of solar lease do you have? Okay, so there's different types of solar leases. You may have a solar lease where you're paying the same amount of money every month, or you may have a solar lease where you're paying based on how much actual energy you use. We need to understand which one you have, so we can disclose that to the buyer. The other thing that we're going to ask you for, and you should provide anytime you sell your house, is your last 12 months of power. Everybody's going to ask you for that, so just get it ready in advance. Very easy to get from MV Energy. Get your last 12 months power bills ready to go. Get your last, at least 2 months of solar statements ready to go, to make sure that you're very clear on what's on there. And then, of course, we have all the things put together. We give it to the buyer, and we say, here's a solar lease you're taking over. Here's a solar payment you're taking over. Here's what your power bills probably will be. Here's where they were last year. Obviously, everyone's power usage is different. And that's how you disclose on solar leases. Now let's talk about solar, if you have a solar loan. So most people, if they have solar panels, they have a solar lease. There's a small group of people who have solar loans, and a smaller group of people still who paid off their solar, right? If you paid off your solar, by the way, the only thing you really need to know about is, first of all, verify it's paid off. So verify the solar is actually paid off, that there's no additional fees hidden somewhere, right? Then also verify what the warranty situation is, because most solars, once it's paid off, there's probably not a warranty or it's limited. So what warranty is included on that solar? Very important, okay? So that's a fast one. Solar's paid off. So now let's talk solar loans. Solar loans are, you literally have a loan, like almost like a second mortgage, really. The lien, UCC lien against the property for the solar loan that has to be paid off at closing, right? The solar loans are not typically transferable, meaning that you have to pay it off, or you have to get the buyer to get to take over your loan. So if you got sort of, I'm not a fan of solar loans, honestly. I mean, if you got kind of sucked into one of those things that is not a good loan, which a lot of people did, I'd really call and ask them, okay, I want someone else to take over my solar loan. What is it going to cost me? Again, what are the fees? Are there going to be any payments or incentive payments that are owed? Sometimes they're huge. It could be, could be 10, 20,000 in payments that are owed at closing that you may have buried in your contract, right? Also, what are the requirements for someone to take over that solar loan? Very often they're going to require it to be an owner-occupant, meaning you can't sell it to an investor or a second homeowner, which eliminates a lot of buyers, right? So, but you got to know that up front, okay? You can't sell it to an investor or a second home. Okay, now we know. So we disclose this. We're not wasting somebody's time and your time accepting an offer that you can accept. What are the financial requirements? Typically, if somebody can qualify to buy a house, they can qualify for the loan, but not always, right? And if it's a large payment and you have especially if you have a more entry level price range, it could affect the ability of a first time home buyer, for example, to be able to even qualify because you have to qualify for typically for the solar and also for the solar loan at the same time. So we want to make sure that we've had the conversation before we go into escrow with a buyer to understand this buyer can actually take over your solar loan. So there's a lot there to kind of be aware of it when you're selling your house. Obviously, give me a call, text me, or DM me. I'm happy to help you through that process. Unfortunately, I've seen it. I think I've seen every horrible thing that can occur, but every month or every 2 months, something new occurs with solar. Someone else gets taken advantage of in a way I haven't seen before. And so I can't stress enough, read your contract, call a solar, and when you call your solar, get it in writing as well, right? Get the information that's in the contract to match up with something in an email is really the best way of doing it to make sure you're not getting told incorrect information. No realtor can interpret your solar contract. An attorney could, but you're not going to pay them to do that, right? So you've got to make sure you get the information, that you understand it, and that it all makes sense and you can verify it. Good luck out there.